Welcome to MapCrow, the RPG art show. My name is Kyle, and today we're talking about using prompts to help you with your world building. This video is brought to you by the generous sponsorship of World Anvil. More on them a bit later. Alright, let's build a world. One of my favorite RPG systems and settings is Itres B, a Norwegian RPG by Ola Pater and Martin Bull Gudmundsson. It is set in the surrealist dream city called Itres B. The city itself and everyone in it is a mere dream of a sleeping goddess. It's filled with detectives, gangsters, ape philosophers, minotaurs, a secret police of spiders, and all other kinds of factions you can imagine. I made this map as a celebration of the juiciest kind of world building I have seen in games probably in my entire life. I took a bunch of district maps from the city of Boston that were drawn around the 1920s and kind of Mod Podged them all on a piece of poster board together. Then I painted some acrylics on top of that and then used some ballpoint pens and Sharpies on top of that to make all kinds of crazy notes. One of the reasons I find the world building in Itres B so compelling is it's just rich with ideas that I would have never thought of on my own. But most importantly, all of these ideas make a highly mysterious and gameable space. Probably the quickest way to explain what you're doing in this game is to think of it as a surrealist noir film. Something along the lines of like David Lynch meets the Coen brothers. So basically The Big Lebowski set in the 1920s. So like any noir story, it is all about either being drawn into the criminal element against your will, or looking for some kind of shortcut and finding yourself in over your head almost immediately. And that is chiefly what the world building is all about. It's not just a bunch of trivia about a made-up place. It is designed to get characters in trouble and then give them people to make unholy bargains with to get out of that trouble, while also creating more trouble for them. So let's say that you're a stevedore in the Black Bay, and you've lost a little bit too much money betting on the ponies, and so now you need some money quick. You hear about an opening with the ancient and venerable Society of Wanderers, who regularly go poaching in the Fringe Zone to sell fictitious animals to the zoo. Your character and all of these factions and all of these different spots on the map all have complicated interrelationships and clearly defined things that they want. It's all really entertaining to read just on the page, and it really comes to life at the table. But like so many inventive campaign settings, it seems like an awful lot of work to come up with all this stuff. I mean, one of the most paralyzing things you can do to yourself is sit down in front of a blank Word document and say, all right, now just come up with a bunch of great ideas. So I would like to talk about an approachable way to avoid just that situation. Recently, there has been a wave of actual plays that use games to build their worlds collectively. Games like How to Host a Dungeon by Tony Dowler, The Ground Itself by Everest Pipkin, or perhaps most popularly, The Quiet Year by Avery Alder. In The Quiet Year, you are collectively drawing a map with your friends and answering world-building prompts that correspond to playing cards that you're drawing randomly. If I drew the Eight of Hearts, I might answer the prompt, an old piece of machinery is discovered, cursed and dangerous. How does the community destroy it? And if I drew the Two of Hearts, I might answer the prompt, there is a giant man-made structure on the map, where is it and why is it abandoned? And if I drew the Jack of Hearts, I might be asked to answer the prompt, you see a good omen, what is it? And all of these prompts are somehow visually represented on the map. So you can see why this is often used to build a world for another game, because by the time you get done answering 52 of these prompts and doing everything else you get to do in the game, you have a pretty full-up world that not only has a bunch of stuff on a map, but also a history, because each of the turns in The Quiet Year happens basically a week speak apart from one another, so you build this history as well. Now, of course, everyone is welcome to have whatever kind of fun they wish with the Quiet Year, but also the Quiet Year has its own goals and themes. It is an artistic work in and of itself, and it does feel a little bit weird when people just use this entirely separate game to build a world for Dungeons and Dragons. So if we're not going to use the Quiet Year or a game that is designed to do something very specific to build our world, we're kind of back to square one. Because even if we're going to use prompts to build our world collaboratively with our friends, we still need to generate a list of prompts. Hey, you know who has a really good list of world building prompts? It's today's sponsor, World Anvil. World Anvil is easily the most comprehensive site I have ever seen that GMs can use to keep track of their campaign worlds and writers can use to keep track of the worlds from their writing. They even have a YouTube channel that, among other things, has a bunch of world building prompts that they did for every day of the month for December last year. So if you want fully featured creative and software support for your world building project, head on over to worldanvil.com and sign up with the promo code CROW for 40% off all new recurring memberships. Like everything I'm talking about today, check the description below for links. Now, if you're looking for a list of world building prompts for your fantasy campaign or your sci-fi novel, there are tons of useful lists to look from. But if you are looking for a list of prompts for something that is perhaps a little off the beaten path like Itres B, well, you're gonna have to write your own. So the first thing that you really want to do is identify your major themes. In this case, I know that the themes are going to be classism, crime, urban life, and surrealism. So I have written out a list of 50 prompts that I'm using to build out the rest of the world of this bizarre dream city. So I'm just going to write out a statement based on the prompt, write directly on the map where I think these kinds of places would be in the city. I really want this map to seem like an in-game object, like something that a citizen of this city might have made to help them make sense of all the mysteries here, and then somehow perhaps it's fallen into your character's hands as well. It feels like it's been too long since I did some kind of wacky art project, so this is really scratching an itch for me. You can find a link to this list of prompts in the description below, but here's a couple of my favorites. Where is the cheapest drink in town? Where do the boats get stuck? Where do the pickpockets prowl? Where does the trash go? Where does the empty bell tower grieve? Where do the roads hide the meek? Where does the wind moan for rest? Where does the fool eater hunt? Where do the mosquitoes spawn? Where is the tree replete with boots? Where does one petition the Prince of Cats? So all of these prompts are helping me to generate locations and adventure hooks that players can look at on the map and respond to and kind of help curate and add to the kind of story that they want to be telling in the group, which is a really big part of the Norwegian style of RPG. It's really important to me that when I'm coming up with these prompts, it's not just about accruing trivial facts about a fictional place, that they are informing the playable space of the game. I want my world building to be juicy and evocative and invite my players to yes and with these prompts. That, I think, is the biggest difference between world building for tabletop RPGs and world building for video games or novels or other forms of media. It is that we need to design a world that honors and supports and rewards player input. And that, I think, does it for this episode. Thank you so much for watching, and also thank you, World Anvil, for sponsoring today's episode. We have 3 more episodes of world building that I want to get to, but let me know in the comments below if you have any questions about world building that you think could fit into this series. So until next time, my friends, I've got to go find where the people praise the eels and where the rats keep their stolen teeth. Farewell.